bitter, divisive, acrimonious and at times downright abusive. Nearly 70 days after the election dates were announced, the loudspeakers have finally fallen silent. It is now over to the voters. 59 seats will vote on Sunday, and with that, the curtains will come down on elections 2019. Bhrashtachari number one, extortionist, tight democratic slap. These were just some of the choice words that were used on the campaign trail. There were many more that simply cannot be uttered on television. But the end of it all, the elections are about the people. And there were moments to remember. We saw 107-year-old Sumitra Rai braving freezing temperatures in Sikkim to hit the polling booth to exercise her franchise. 2 days after a Naxal attack that killed 5 people, voters defied the threat in Chhattisgarh's Sukma and queued up at the polling booth with water bottles in hand to save themselves from the unsparing sun. Following threats from terrorists, voter turnout was muted in Jammu and Kashmir, but that does not mean we did not see voters in Kashmir shrugging off these threats and even dancing their way into the polling booths. Over the next 30 minutes, Ritu Singh and I will recap the good, the bad, the ugly from the campaign trail in the last 2 months. It has been a brutal and eventful election. Our starting point today is Uttar Pradesh. The BJP simply swept every party aside in 2014. But this time, they have a battle to fight with Mayawati and Akhilesh Yadav teaming up. The Congress was left in the cold but decided to field Priyanka Gandhi as a key strategist and star campaigner in the state. Parikshit Luthra wraps up the battle for the mighty Uttar Pradesh.
In elections 2019, the battle for Uttar Pradesh was nothing short of a blockbuster. Yes, this crucial UP test for 80 seats saw a massive fight between the Mahagathbandhan, Rahul and Priyanka, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Amit Shah and Yogi Adityanath. The party which scores the highest here could even win the crown. That is, the battle for the Prime Minister's office or Lok Kalyan Marg. No wonder every party went all out to woo the voter with literally whatever it takes. Let's look at the BJP's narrative. Now, the BJP focused on national security in every election rally, be it the Prime Minister, Amit Shah or Yogi Adityanath. They all referred to the Balakot airstrikes. In fact, the Election Commission also warned Yogi Adityanath, the star campaigner of the BJP, for using the term Modi ji ki Sena. In fact, this was widely reported on and became quite a controversy at that point in time. Unfortunately, despite all talk of development, the communal agenda once again took center stage. Yogi Adityanath was temporarily banned by the Election Commission for using terms like green virus and Babar ki aulad. Mayawati too of the Mahagathbandhan was temporarily banned for urging Muslims to vote together. And this blockbuster, ladies and gentlemen, was not without its share of thrill and suspense. Everyone was asking whether Varanasi is going to see a battle between Narendra Modi and Priyanka Gandhi. And Congress's star campaigner triggered off speculation herself when she was asked by workers to fight this election. Yes, for several days, this was a question on everyone's mind. Will Varanasi see a Modi versus Priyanka battle? She and the Congress decided to play along for a while. Later, of course, the Congress decided against it. Let's look at the battle for Amethi, which was also followed extensively and comprehensively in this election. Smriti Irani vowed to defeat Rahul in his bastion.
This time the scenario is such that Rahul Gandhi has chosen another seat. That in itself is extremely telling. I think what is important for me is that the Congress people within the Lok Sabha area themselves gave it in writing to Rahul that please hunt for another seat.
In Amethi and the rest of Uttar Pradesh, Rahul Gandhi kept up the attack on Prime Minister Modi over the Rafale deal. But this one statement got him in trouble with the Supreme Court.
आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्लियर कर दिया है कि चौकीदार जी ने चोरी करवाई है.
Rahul Gandhi first regretted, then apologized, and then unconditionally apologized. But that did not stop him. He kept attacking the Prime Minister over corruption. The Prime Minister, on the other hand, who is under pressure to deliver a decisive verdict yet again, left no stone unturned to run down the Mahagathbandhan and the Congress party.
आपके पिताजी को आपके राग दरबारियों ने मिस्टर क्लीन बना दिया था। गाजे बाजे के साथ मिस्टर क्लीन चला था, लेकिन देखते ही देखते भ्रष्टाचारी नंबर 1 के रूप में उनका जीवन काल समाप्त हो गया।
And that statement by the Prime Minister was one of the most controversial statements of elections 2019. Now, if you look at the 2014 numbers, it's quite clear that an erosion of seats could really unsettle the BJP in this election. For the BSP, Samajwadi Party and the Congress, it's really a battle for survival. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
All right, Pariksha, thanks very much for wrapping that up for us. Now, from Uttar Pradesh to the state of West Bengal. The four-cornered race in the state saw what is probably the most acrimonious election campaign. The BJP is betting big on Bengal and launched an offensive with Prime Minister Modi addressing 17 rallies in the state, second only to Uttar Pradesh. Now, there was violence almost at every phase of the election and 3 people lost their lives. 2014 polls were no different, with 7 people losing their lives in the election-related violence. Now, Archana Shukla wraps up the bitter battle for Bengal.
One of the 3 states that saw polling spread over 7 phases, West Bengal, that sends 42 Member of Parliaments to Lok Sabha, witnessed a fierce election campaign and violent polling, phase after phase, rally after rally. While poll violence has been an election normal since CPIM days, there have been more than 300 incidents of poll violence and 3 poll-related deaths reported from West Bengal so far this election. With 4 key parties, TMC, CPIM, BJP and Congress in the fray, it was BJP that emerged as the main challenger to Mamata Banerjee and Trinamool Congress, which has dominated polls in Bengal since 2011. None of the national level narratives worked here. This election in Bengal, it was a clash of identity politics, one for the majority versus the minorities, with BJP pushing its hard Hindutva stance and raking up issues of illegal Bangladeshi immigrants, promising Citizenship Amendment Bill and NRC. Mamata Banerjee on the other side was countering it by invoking the Bengali pride and raising her grassroots level development programs. Bengal's importance this election and for BJP can be seen in the fact that both Modi and Shah have campaigned the most here in the state after Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister Modi has alone done over 17 rallies for 42 seats here and have used all blatant ploys on their combative campaign. The fierce orator Mamata Banerjee did not take it lying down.
दीदी, आपकी जमीन खिसक चुकी है और दीदी देख लेना 23 तारीख को जब नतीजे आएंगे, चारों तरफ कमल खिलेगा तो तुम्हारे विधायक भी आपको छोड़ करके भाग जाएंगे। दीदी देख लेना।
इधर में आके बोला, बंगाल में आप लोग इधर में आके मीटिंग किया, उधर में आके मीटिंग किया, कहके क्या बोला कि जल्दी से मेरे हमारे साथ तृणमूल का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रखते हैं। हम बोला नाम तो बताओ, एक नाम बताओ, एक नाम बताओ।
Meanwhile, violence continued amidst sporadic clashes. BJP's MP Babul Supriyo's car was vandalized during a clash between TMC and BJP workers in Asansol. Then on the 12th of May, during BJP President Amit Shah's roadshow in Kolkata, BJP and TMC workers clashed again, with many party workers on both sides being injured. What made matters worse and hurt cultural sentiments was that the statue of 19th century social reformer Ishwar Chandra Bandyopadhyay, or Vidyasagar as he was fondly called, was damaged in the violence. Mamata Banerjee and Amit Shah have traded charges over the incident. PM Modi accused Mamata Banerjee of destroying the culture of the Bhadralok in Bengal and offering to make a larger statue, to which Mamata Banerjee retorted by saying that Bengal does not need arms from BJP. That was it. That was what started the unprecedented move, overruling the election observers' views of halting campaigns immediately. In an unprecedented move, the Election Commission ordered ending election campaigning for the last phase by 19 hours, limiting it till 10 p.m. on May 16th. In another first-of-its-kind action, the Election Commission ordered removal of Principal Secretary Home Atri Bhattacharya from his post in West Bengal for having interfered in the process of conducting polls by directing the West Bengal CEO. BJP said the decision was a validation of their complaint that Bengal has descended into anarchy. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said Election Commission's decision was undemocratic and a gift to BJP since the deadline accommodated all of PM Narendra Modi's scheduled rallies in the state. Opposition parties rallied behind Mamata Banerjee.
আর এতই যদি ইলেকশন কমিশনের গার্ডস থাকে মিছিল করলে গন্ডগোল হচ্ছে আমরা এত মিছিল করেছি একটাতেও তো গন্ডগোল হয়নি একটাতেও তো হয়নি অমিত শাহর মিছিল ছাড়া উনি অমিত শাহকে কেন স্যাক করলেন না কালকে নরেন্দ্র মোদির দুটো মিটিং আছে বাংলায় নরেন্দ্র মোদির যখন মিটিং শেষ হয়ে যাবে তখন অন্যদের প্রচার শেষ হয়ে যাবে ইজ ইট ডেমোক্রেটিক ডিসিশন unconstitutional, unprecedented, unfair, unconstitutional, unethical, political bias decision.
जिस प्रकार दीदी पश्चिम बंगाल को अपनी और अपने भतीजे की जागीर समझ बैठी है जिस तरह की हरकतें कर रही है उसे देश भली भांति जान गया है
Free speech was under fire and Bengal again in negative focus when a BJP youth leader was remanded to 14 days judicial custody for circulating a meme on Mamata Banerjee. She was later released. Security has been beefed up in the state and on May 19th, over 800 companies of paramilitary forces will be deployed when 9 Lok Sabha constituencies, all currently held by TMC, vote in the last phase. The face of this election is Mamata versus Modi.
The Election Commission has been at the centre of most controversies in these high-voltage elections. Almost every political party has knocked on the Commission's doors and cried foul over several decisions. Organising an election for 900 million voters, of course, is no easy task. But from making this a 7-phase election to various violations of the Model Code of Conduct, the spotlight was always on the Election Commission throughout the last 2 months.
Well, think of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, then think of the Election Commission. Chances are that the linkage that you've drawn between the two is not the most charitable with respect to the conduct of the Election Commission, which is a very, very mild, politically correct, a very sound way of saying that the Election Commission has faced severe amount of criticism across the length and breadth of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. We've identified 5 such instances where they invited a huge deal of criticism and perhaps found themselves in a controversial, slightly embarrassing position. We've shortlisted 5 such instances. Let's go through them one by one. Here's number 1. Now, keep in mind that the Election Commission is a constitutional authority, which essentially means that it has powers equivalent to a constitutional authority. But on being asked by the Supreme Court as to whether or not, as to why they were not acting against complaints with respect to Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah, their answer essentially was, and this is what I'm quoting them here, they said that we're simply powerless. They went on and clarified that the only power that the Election Commission had was, 1, to issue a notice, to issue an advisory, and then to lodge a complaint. That's all. That's the sum and substance of the powers that they submitted were available to them before the Supreme Court. And interestingly, it took a plea by an NRI. And NRI was the one who reminded the Election Commission that you are a constitutional authority and that you have unlimited powers under Article 324. And it's only after that that the Election Commission sprung into action. It took action against Yogi. He was barred for 72 hours. Mayawati was barred for 48 hours for Model Code of Conduct violations. And what's interesting is that towards the end of it all, the Supreme Court interestingly had sarcastically remarked that it seems that the Election Commission has woken up to its past. So the Election Commission finding itself in a tough spot while saying that they seem to have no powers available to them. And which is what makes the second controversy equally interesting. Let's keep in mind that on April 15, that's the day that the Election Commission had told the Apex Court that they simply have no powers. Jump to May 15th, and we find the Election Commission acting with powers that they had never played with. In fact, playing with fire that had never happened throughout this electoral history. Now, keep in mind that after the violence at the Amit Shah road show that happened in West Bengal, post that, the Election Commission took this extremely strong measure of, in fact, cutting short the campaigning by as much as 17 hours. Now, on the face of it, while it might seem innocent, let's keep in mind that they had invoked Article 324, and this is the power that, in fact, an NRI had reminded to them just about a month back. And in fact, what's critical here and what's interesting and what puts this thing in perspective is that this power of the Election Commission has never been exercised before throughout the electoral history of our country, across Lok Sabha polls, across Assembly polls, across by-polls. This is one power that has never been used before.
Oh my God! तो why they stopped meeting for us? हमारा मीटिंग तो था कल, तो कैंपेन बंद क्यों कर दिया? प्रधानमंत्री अकेला ही मीटिंग करेगा और कोई नहीं करेगा, और कोई सिक्योरिटी का प्रॉब्लम हुआ? क्या चाहते हैं? एसपीजी जो बोलेगा वही होगा, इलेक्शन कमीशन जो बोलेगा वही होगा, और हम लोग का कोई लोकतंत्र का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। क्यों किया? हमारा मीटिंग तो कल था, हमारा अगर 24 आवर्स मीटिंग कैंपेन बंद कर देगा, तो हमको तो मीटिंग एडजस्ट करना है।
And which is what brings us to the third issue, and this pertains to, while the issue might be of clean chits, the larger issue that is raised here is the allegation rather of the Election Commission allegedly acting in a biased manner. Now, the issue that brought this in focus essentially was the multiple complaints that had been filed before the Election Commission. This issue was taken up with the Supreme Court as to why the Election Commission wasn't acting on these complaints, despite some of these complaints pending for nearly a month. And this is what in fact was red flagged by the Apex Court. Now, subsequent to that, what we had interestingly is that after being prodded by the Supreme Court, after being prodded into action, the Election Commission did eventually start processing those complaints. And what's interesting here is that they started issuing clean chits. Now, in March, the Election Commission had clarified that the Indian Armed Forces cannot be invoked for purposes of electoral campaigning. However, there was a complaint filed that the Prime Minister, in fact, had cited Captain Abhinandan and his return in an electoral rally. But despite the complaint being filed, the Election Commission, in fact, in the month of May, had issued a clean chit. This would be the first of many clean chits to follow. Another issue that we had seen, and this is with respect to Amit Shah. Amit Shah had likened Wayanad, which is the constituency that Rahul Gandhi is contesting from. He had likened Wayanad to the state, to the neighboring state of Pakistan. Again, a complaint was filed. Again, the Election Commission says, sorry, we don't see anything wrong with that. In fact, there was also another complaint, and this one was against Prime Minister Modi. The speeches that he'd made, he had invoked Balakot. He also made a reference that Wayanad, again, Rahul Gandhi's constituency, had very many Muslim voters. Yet, despite that apparent MCC violation, the Election Commission found absolutely nothing wrong with it, which is what, again, raised that larger bogey of whether or not the EC is acting in an independent, objective manner. What is, however, the silver lining, and this is what critics point out, is that the Election Commission, while issuing those clean chits, what's interesting is that a Special Commissioner, Ashok Lavasa, made his position quite clear. He dissented, and in fact, in 4 such instances of clean chits, in fact, had a very, very different view in terms of the position taken by the Election Commission, but nonetheless inviting very, very strong criticism from various political quarters about the conduct of the Election Commission. Now, as far as the fourth controversy is concerned, the issue again remains the same of whether or not the Election Commission is acting in a biased manner. We, however, look at this same issue from a slightly different lens, this time from the lens of an IAS officer. Now, let's keep in mind that Officer Mohsin was deployed in the state of Odisha on electoral duty. In fact, he, however, found himself facing the wrath of the Election Commission. The Election Commission had sacked him, had suspended him. In fact, not just that, the Election Commission had also sought strong disciplinary action against Officer Mohsin. The reason for that essentially was because the Officer Mohsin had shown the gall to go ahead and in fact check the Prime Minister's chopper, check the Prime Minister's luggage, and that appeared to be something that seems to have inspired the strong action from the Election Commission, again raising that larger bogey of why the Election Commission seems to have done so wide, inspired such action from the Election Commission, and whether or not it continues to act in an objective, independent manner.
So I have done my duty as per the ECI guidelines, whatever instruction supplied to me in the Observer's Handbook Volume 1 and Volume 2, and other whatever guidelines are available on the website. That's what I can say. I have done my duty as per the ECI guidelines strictly.
which brings us to the fifth and the final issue, and this is with respect to the all-important state of Tripura. This is a very, very tight, contentious battle that we're seeing in the state of Tripura. However, a large number of opposition parties, the left as well as the Congress parties, had alleged that there had been large-scale rigging across the length and breadth of the state. In fact, the returning officer had submitted a report that there were the electoral process essentially was vitiated, he said, in as many as 433 of the almost 1,700 polling stations. Now, the demand that had been put across by the opposition parties was quite simple, that given the scale, given the report of the RO, it's critical that we have repolling done in the state of Tripura. The Election Commission, however, differed with that view and allowed repolling to be done only in 168 booths, which again has been the subject matter of a great deal of criticism that we've seen across social media and across the length and breadth of India's political spectrum.
Well, it was not all about ugly rhetoric and violence. There were plenty of lighter moments on the campaign trail. There was music, there was dancing, and there was frantic chanting and troubles with translators. We leave you with some of these moments. Thank you for watching.
Wherever he goes, a new promise.
അദ്ദേഹം എവിടെ പോയാലും വാഗ്ദാനങ്ങൾ കൊടുക്കും.
Don't make me prime minister, he says. Make me the chokidar.
He says, അദ്ദേഹം പറയുന്നു, അദ്ദേഹത്തെ പ്രധാനമന്ത്രിയാക്കേണ്ട സൂക്ഷിപ്പുകാരനാക്കിയാൽ മതിയെന്ന്, ചൗക്കിദാർ.
And then in every speech, the prime minister speaks of corruption.
Prime minister.
In every speech, he speaks about corruption.
എല്ലാ പ്രസംഗത്തിലും പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി അഴിമതിയെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്നു.
देश का प्रधानमंत्री दोबारा से नरेंद्र मोदी को बनाना पड़ेगा. अब बताइए, नरेंद्र का मतलब न, मोदी का मतलब मो, तो नमो 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 नमो, ये वो नमो है.
The questions raised are that there was displeasure amongst the party workers in Bankura, and that's possibly the reason why you were moved from Bankura. Could be. Could be. You don't deny that?
No, I don't know anything about it.
जिसके खाते में 15 लाख रुपए आ गए वो हाथ उठा दे. तुम्हारे खाते में आ गए? आ जाओ इधर आ जाओ. अकाउंट नंबर ले आओ तुम्हारा. हम तुम्हारा नागरिक अभिनंदन करेंगे, तुम्हारे खाते में 15 लाख रुपए आ गए. आ जाओ बेटा, इधर आ जाओ. अन्नदाता, तेरे खाते में मोदी जी ने 15 लाख रुपए भिजवा दिए. बोलो,
सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक करके मोदी जी ने आतंकवादियों को मारा.
अरे 15 लाख रुपए आए कि नहीं आए? अरे सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक मारा, तेरे खाते में 15 लाख रुपए आए कि नहीं आए?
डकैती डालने का काम 2 पोर्च में हुआ है. डकैती हो गई है. रफेल, माफ करना, मैं बोला था, रफेल